The apartment was silent, but not peaceful. Silence had weight tonight. It pressed against my ears, crawled down my spine, whispered secrets I wasn't ready to hear. I moved slowly, each step measured, as if the floorboards themselves might betray me. My reflection in the hallway mirror flickered like a shadow I didn't fully recognize. Is that me? It wasn't. Not really. It was her. Or maybe it was her version of me, a version I had never been allowed to show anyone. The wig tangled slightly in the back, teasing my patience, but I couldn't bring myself to adjust it too much. I wanted her to be perfect. Needed her to be perfect. The skirt clung to my thighs. The blouse hugged my shoulders in a way that made my chest rise and fall faster than usual. Every inch of me screamed with this forbidden thrill, this dangerous joy. I remembered the first time it happened, how I had laughed nervously as I pulled the dress over my head, how I had stared in the mirror, trembling. Back then, it had been a secret. An experiment. Something I would abandon before anyone found out. But tonight felt different. It wasn't an experiment anymore. It was inevitable. The thrill of danger danced through me like electricity. A soft breeze from the slightly cracked window brushed against my cheek, carrying the faint smell of rain and asphalt, reminding me that the world outside didn't know, and might never understand. My heartbeat spiked at the thought. What if someone walked in? Not just Isabella, anyone. I pressed my hands together, feeling the smoothness of my nails against my palms, marveling at how alive it made me feel. Every little detail mattered, the way the stockings hugged my legs, the subtle shimmer of blush across my cheeks, the faint scent of her perfume lingering on my wrist. It was more than just clothing. It was armor. And yet, armor can crack. Armor can fail. And then there was Isabella. I could almost hear her voice in my mind, teasing, questioning, unaware. She thought she knew me. She thought I was just her boyfriend, ordinary, dependable, predictable. But that was a lie I had been living too long. The truth was buried deeper, in places even I hadn't fully explored. And tonight, that truth was bubbling to the surface. A sound, a tap, a creak, a breath, made me freeze. Not her. Not yet. But someone. My pulse jumped. My legs trembled under the weight of my heels. The reflection in the mirror seemed to smirk, almost mocking me. She was there, daring me to be bold, daring me to fail. I wanted to turn back. I wanted to rip the wig off, tear the dress from my body, run to the safety of my old self. But part of me, the part one could no longer deny, thrived on this tension, this dangerous duality. The line between fear and exhilaration had blurred, and I realized with a jolt, I wasn't just playing dress-up anymore. I was stepping into a life that might never let me go back. Outside, the city hummed unknowingly, indifferent. Inside, I was on the edge of something irreversible. A secret that wasn't just mine, but one that would soon demand everything. And in that moment, frozen in the reflection of my own eyes, I understood the terrifying truth. Tonight was the night I would stop being just me. Tonight, I would become someone else. And maybe, just maybe, that someone else would never let me return. The apartment had settled into an eerie quiet, but I couldn't settle. Every glance at the mirror reminded me of the woman I was becoming, the reflection I could never fully escape. I ran my fingers along the curve of my cheekbones, tracing the faint shimmer of highlighter I had applied, feeling a thrill that was both intoxicating and terrifying. Each detail was deliberate. The eyeliner that made my eyes look impossibly wide, the lipstick that painted my lips like a promise I wasn't ready to keep. I moved toward the closet, my hands brushing over skirts and dresses that were no longer just clothes. They were instruments of transformation, tools that could shape me into someone else entirely. My fingers lingered on a soft, navy dress, its fabric cool and smooth against my skin. It felt like it was waiting for me, like it knew the power it held. As I slipped it over my head, the dress conformed to my body in ways that were almost intoxicating. My chest rose and fell faster, my stomach tightened, and a shiver ran down my spine. I caught my reflection again, and this time, it wasn't just me, it was her. My secret self, alive and undeniable, staring back with a confidence I had never allowed myself to feel before. But the thrill was tangled with fear. Isabella's presence lingered in my mind, like a ghost hovering just outside the frame of reality. She didn't know, But what if she did? The thought of her walking in, of seeing me like this, sent a jolt through my body. My hands shook slightly as I balanced on the heels, feeling both powerful and vulnerable at the same time. I moved to the makeup table, my reflection splitting into two versions of myself: the nervous, restrained man I had always been, and the daring, unapologetic girl I had become. Each stroke of mascara, each sweep of blush, deepened the divide. I felt alive in a way that terrified me, like I was teetering on a razor's edge between exhilaration and disaster. Time seemed to slow as I practiced walking in the heels, each click on the wooden floor a pulse of rebellion. The dress swished around my knees, my fingers tracing the seams as if they were lines of fate written just for me. I was both performer and audience, trapped in a dance I couldn't pause. And then it happened, an unexpected knock at the door. My heart leapt into my throat. Not Isabella, I hoped. But fear tightened around my chest like iron bands. My reflection in the mirror seemed to smirk at me, daring me to face it. I froze, listening. Each second stretched endlessly. My secret life, which had felt safe and intoxicating moments ago, now teetered on the brink of exposure. I had a choice: hide, retreat, erase every trace of her before the door opened, or risk it all and let her see. The knock came again, sharper this time. My mind raced. Every scenario played out in seconds. What if she knew? What if she could see through the carefully constructed illusion? My fingers clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms as adrenaline surged. I was balancing on a knife's edge, caught between the thrill of being seen and the terror of being discovered. And in that tension, a strange clarity struck me. I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. This wasn't just a secret anymore. This wasn't just a game. The lines between me and her, between my old life and this new identity, were disappearing. I could feel it in the way my body moved, the way my heart raced, the way my mind spun with possibilities I had never dared to imagine. I took a shaky breath, lifting my chin to meet the reflection in the mirror. She smiled back at me, confident, daring, unapologetic. And in that smile, I felt the truth settle deep in my bones. I was no longer merely experimenting. I was stepping into a life that might never let me go. The knock came once more, insistent. And in that moment, I knew the build-up wasn't just about the thrill of transformation anymore. It was about survival, secrecy, and the irreversible pull of becoming someone else entirely. The city outside was alive with sounds: distant horns, laughter, the rumble of life continuing oblivious to the storm inside me. I could feel her presence everywhere at once, a shadow I couldn't escape. Each heartbeat pounded like a drum, each breath a countdown. Tonight, everything would change. Tonight, the line between who I was and who I had become would shatter completely. I stood in front of the mirror again, trembling. The dress clung to me, perfectly tailored, almost mocking in its precision. My heels were no longer just footwear, they were instruments of transformation, each click against the floor a drumbeat of defiance. I touched my lips, feeling the lingering trace of lipstick, and shivered. This wasn't just about looking like her, it was about becoming her. The reflection stared back with an intensity that made my chest tighten. The girl in the mirror wasn't asking for permission anymore, she was taking over. Then, a sound from the doorway froze me in place, a deliberate, slow step. Not Isabella. Someone else. Someone who could ruin everything. My mind raced. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. My reflection seemed to smirk, daring me to confront it. The figure moved closer, each step echoing in the space around me like a warning. My pulse spiked, sweat prickled at my temples. I could feel my secret life teetering on the edge of exposure. "Hey, are you in there?" The voice was familiar, teasingly casual, but underneath it carried a question, a suspicion. My stomach lurched. I wasn't ready for this. Not yet. Every instinct screamed to hide, to erase every trace of her, to vanish. But the thrill, the pull of transformation, was too strong. I straightened my posture, letting the dress fall smoothly over my frame, and met the reflection in the mirror like a warrior facing her battle. The figure stepped closer, and I could feel the air thickening, charged with possibility and danger. My hands trembled as I adjusted the wig, ensuring every strand was perfect. Every second stretched into eternity. Then, in a heartbeat, it happened. A stumble. My heel caught on the edge of the rug. I swore under my breath as I wobbled, and in that instant, the figure turned fully toward me. Eyes widened. Recognition flashed. And in that moment, my world split. There was fear, yes, but also a rush of liberation I hadn't expected. I was exposed completely, and yet, I felt alive in a way no secret could ever provide. My reflection in the mirror caught the movement, the slip, the vulnerability, and it smiled, mocking, knowing, unstoppable. What are you doing? The voice shook slightly, caught between disbelief and curiosity. I swallowed hard, every nerve on fire. My secret, my double life, was dangling in front of me, raw and vulnerable. And yet, something inside me surged, a defiance I hadn't known existed. I can't explain, I whispered, voice trembling, but there was a strange strength beneath it. Not yet. The figure stepped closer, every motion deliberate. My chest tightened, not from fear alone, but from the thrill of being seen, of being discovered. My hands shook as I reached for the mirror, tracing the curve of my jaw, the line of my collarbone, the delicate angle of my wrists. I realized then that this wasn't just a mistake, wasn't just an accident. It was me. All of me. And anyone who saw me now would see everything, not just the surface, but the truth I had hidden for so long. A sudden laugh broke the tension, a sharp, almost incredulous sound. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't judgmental. It was something else. Acceptance? Amazement? I didn't know. But it shattered the last fragment of fear in me. My lips parted involuntarily, a small, trembling smile forming. I was caught. Exposed. Vulnerable. And yet, for the first time, I didn't want to hide. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything spiraled. A crash, a dropped object, maybe my heel, maybe something else, made me stumble forward. I reached out instinctively, my hands brushing against the edge of a surface, feeling the texture, grounding myself. My reflection seemed to flicker in response, not frightened, not panicked but alive. She had taken over, and I was finally, irrevocably, becoming her. The figure froze, eyes fixed on me. Every second stretched into a lifetime. I could feel the duality inside me, the man who had lived cautiously, secretly, and the woman who had taken root, fierce and unapologetic. They were colliding, merging, until there was no separation. I breathed deeply, letting the new rhythm of my heartbeat sync with the reflection, feeling the transformation reach its peak. The voice faltered, and I saw the hesitation, the shock, the awe. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Words were useless now. I was beyond explanation. Every flick of the wig, every sway of the dress, every click of the heels became a declaration. This was who I had become. And there was no turning back. The tension didn't end. The figure stepped forward again, closer this time, and the space between us was electric. My heart raced, adrenaline and fear mingling, but underneath it all was a strange serenity. The secret was out. The transformation was complete. I could no longer pretend. I could no longer hide. I was her. Fully. Irrevocably. And then, as if the universe had been holding its breath, everything paused. Time froze in that instant of total exposure, total surrender. I stood, trembling, aware of every inch of myself, every detail of the dress, every curve and angle. The reflection smiled back at me, triumphant, fearless, alive. And in that smile, I knew the truth. My life as I had known it was over. There was no going back. Ever. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything I had ever experienced. The figure, frozen, eyes wide with shock, had taken a step back, but the tension in the air remained thick, almost suffocating. I could feel the adrenaline still coursing through me, my pulse beating like a warning drum. My reflection in the mirror stared back, unwavering, triumphant, almost daring me to admit it aloud. I was no longer the person I had been. Every detail of me screamed the truth. The dress hugged my body perfectly, the heels elevated me with an elegance I had never imagined I could carry. The wig framed my face flawlessly, the makeup highlighting a beauty I had only glimpsed in stolen moments. But beneath that beauty, beneath the thrill and exhilaration, a raw, unshakable fear lingered. What would happen next? The figure's voice broke the tension, trembling yet sharp. I don't know what to say. It wasn't judgment. Not exactly. It was confusion, curiosity, and maybe awe. My lips parted slightly, wanting to respond, to explain, but no words came. How could I explain a truth that even I hadn't fully accepted? I took a careful step forward, every movement deliberate, each click of my heels echoing like a heartbeat. The figure flinched slightly, eyes flicking between my face and the mirror, as if trying to reconcile two versions of me. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about being caught. This was about control. My control over my secret, my identity, my life. Everything was slipping, and yet, I had never felt more alive. A sudden sound outside, a distant shout, a slammed door, made me freeze. My pulse spiked, fear clawing at the edges of my exhilaration. Could someone else have heard? Could this secret, my carefully constructed double life, unravel in an instant? The thought was terrifying, but thrilling. The line between danger and desire had blurred completely. The figure's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. You're different, they whispered. And in that single phrase, the reality sank deeper. Yes, I was different. And there was no going back. Not tonight, not ever. The thrill of the transformation, the rush of being exposed yet surviving, it had changed me permanently. I glanced at the mirror once more, tracing the reflection's lips with my eyes, the way the dress fell around the knees, the delicate curve of the wrist. The reflection smiled, confident and untouchable. I realized then that even if the world outside discovered me, even if everything I had known came crashing down, this version of me, the girl I had become, would endure. But the fear remained. What would Isabella think if she found out? What would she do? Would she laugh, scream, or simply walk away? The questions spun endlessly in my mind, each one heavier than the last. And just as I reached for a response, the figure stepped closer again, their hand hovering near the door, hesitation clear. And then, without warning, the lights flickered. A shadow moved across the room, shifting in a way that made my breath catch. The reflection in the mirror shimmered for a moment, as if teasing me, daring me to acknowledge the truth I had been avoiding. The thrill, the fear, the exhilaration, they collided inside me, leaving me dizzy, suspended between two worlds. I froze, every muscle tense, waiting. Waiting for what? A question, a judgment, an attack, or maybe something else entirely. The figure's eyes searched mine, and I searched theirs, and in that silent exchange, the unspoken words hung in the air like a promise, or a threat. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same. The night, the transformation, the near discovery, it had all changed me. Permanently. And yet, the story wasn't over. Someone else would come, someone would ask questions, someone would see too much. The uncertainty stretched before me like an endless road, thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. And just like that, the scene froze. The reflection smiled, the figure hesitated, and I stood there, half fear, half exhilaration, on the edge of everything I had ever known. The secret was out, but the consequences were only beginning.